Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Mikel Arteta has very wild dreams for Arsenal transfer plans this summer. If Mikel signs every player on his transfer wish list, he might spend about 340 million euros. So in this video, I'm going to be diving into the players on Mikel Arteta's transfer wish list. What are the dream players? What are the dream signings for Mikel this summer? What does every player add to the team, and why has he gone for that specific player and that specific profile? Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. It's gonna be a big summer for Arsenal. This has been confirmed by all the big outlets out there. Arsenal are not messing about. The BBC, The Athletic, Fabrizio Romano, all confirming the same thing, that Arsenal will splash the cash and Arsenal will try to do whatever they can to bag the manager. So what is the manager thinking about, and what does Mikel Arteta have in mind? Now, in number one, his number one priority this summer is Alexander Isak for 150 million. Thinking about that 340 million I talked about in the intro of this video, he wants to spend 150 million on Alexander Isak. Now, we're not going to talk about how difficult the deal for Alexander Isak, is. We already know that. But why Alexander Isak? Why is Mikel Arteta going for a player like Alexander Isak this summer, especially after a campaign where Arsenal failed to score goals, where Arsenal failed to penetrate through defenses and teams, and a campaign where we've gone as far as the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League? Now, this is what I think. Number one, Alexander Isak really is a different attacking option and a different attacking identity to Bukayo Saka. And that is the first thing Mikel Arteta has been talking about all season. Can we get options? Can we get another player? Can we get another option that is not Bukayo Saka? So if you think about Arsenal, there is something that is really wrong about this club. If we attack through Saka, there is a high probability that we will score. There's a high probability that we will, impact the game. We will win the game. If you think about our, two legs against Real Madrid, the two free kicks that Declan Rice scores, they actually come from Bukayo Saka being fouled twice. And if you think about the PSG game, Arsenal scored once, and that goal came from Bukayo Saka. So that means that without the super quality of Bukayo Saka, without Saka doing whatever he does for Arsenal, we don't actually have any other player that we can rely on. Now, this season has taught us a very big lesson, and Mikel Arteta will have written sub-notes. Saka's been missing in action from about December to April, and during that time, Arsenal have drawn more games than any other team. Arsenal have dropped more points than any other team. The only thing that we have not done is lose to a member of the top six. Other than that, Arsenal have been absolutely dreadful without Saka. And I don't blame Mikel Arteta, because if you think about the last 5 seasons, he's tried to do something on the attacking front. Gabriel Jesus was brought in. It didn't work out. That is not the fault of the manager, that Gabriel Jesus is injury prone. By the time he was at Manchester City, he wasn't that injury prone. Then you think about players like Leandro Trossard, you think about players like Mikhailo Modric, you think about players like Gabriel Martinelli. Mikel has tried to work with a couple of different options. He's tried to sign a couple of different options, but things have not worked out. But this season has been a painful lesson that if Arsenal cannot identify and define another attacking option that is not Bukayo Saka, we are not going anywhere. And that is why Alexander Isak makes a lot of sense. It's a wild dream, and like I said, Mikel has very, very crazy dreams this summer. But Alexander Isak is such an answer to Arsenal's attacking problems, creative problems, and accuracy goal scoring problems. Because if you bring him in, he's one of those strikers that can easily give you 20 goals a campaign. And think about 20 goals a campaign for a club like Arsenal. What would that do to us? For example, think about this season. We don't concede a lot of goals. We don't concede a lot of stupid goals, really. So that means that if Arsenal can have a player that can give us 20 goals, Saka 20 goals, and maybe 10 from Odegaard and maybe 10 from Gabriel Martinelli, we might actually win the league, because we never concede very many goals. And again, Alexander Isak is that one player that can turn the many draws. Arsenal have drawn 14 games so far this campaign, and I reckon Arsenal will draw another game. If we don't draw against Newcastle, yeah, maybe that's it. But it's going to be difficult for us to think about that Arsenal drew 15 games out of 38 in a single league campaign. It's unthinkable. So Alexander Isak comes in to solve these problems. A player that can give you that winning goal, a player that can just add to the number of goals, and a player that can capitalize on the chances that Arsenal are wasting and all the chances that are actually going begging. But also, there is something that Arsenal have lacked this season, and that thing is penetration. So when it comes to penetration, Arsenal always have the ball. Arsenal always have this possession, 67% ball possession, 70% ball possession. But the problem is penetration. It is toothless. We are backing dogs that actually don't bite. So if a player like Alexander Isak, that might actually change. For example, you have a player like Martin Odegaard who is really equipped with creativity skills. But who does he create for really? I mean, at times we blame Odegaard. But if you think about a player like Bruno Fernandes, he has Rasmus Højlund to create for. He has Joshua Zirkzee to create for. He's got a couple of players to actually create for. With Odegaard, he doesn't have that. So having a number 9 really just prompts other players to play those through balls and just to make sure that they feed him. And I think that would increase our level of penetration. But also you have players that are just naturally skilled. They can go through walls. They can go through, very thick walls, concrete walls. And that is Alexander Isak. So I don't think Alexander Isak is number 1 on Arteta's list by mistake. It is actually a calculated decision. Number 2 is Nico Williams. And Nico Williams is quite a very interesting option when it comes to all the other players we are actually linked with. Mikel Arteta really likes Nico Williams. We waited for him last summer. He wanted backup. Remember Mikel saying that if a player doesn't want to join us, we won't let that stop us. We're gonna go and move on. Mikel waited for Nico Williams, and that tells you everything you know about Nico Williams. He's such a different profile of a player for Mikel Arteta. So think about Saka. Saka is this unstoppable right winger in the world. Everyone thinks about the best wingers in the world, especially on the right hand side. They think about Vinicius, they think about Saka, they think about Salah, like that. So in the same light, Mikel Arteta knows and he thinks that Nico Williams could become one of the best wingers on the left-hand side. And he has done this with Leroy Sané before at Manchester City. Sané came in and he was a left winger, stroke a number 10 at Schalke 04. And he had a very, very good campaign. He comes in, he works with Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola, and they make him one of the devastating left wingers in the world. Nico Williams has got the skill set to do that. And a few people have been telling me, and I've seen a few Twitter conversations as well, that Nico Williams isn't that player. I mean, he's not the finished article. He's not a player that is going to give you 20 goals a campaign. Sure deal, they're right. But I think what Mikel is looking at here in Nico Williams is, can I transform him? Can I work magic on him? Can I make him the player that I didn't get in Gabriel Martinelli? And I think if Gabriel Martinelli had really progressed to the levels that we all thought he would, then we wouldn't be looking at Nico Williams. So why Nico Williams? I think it's the skill set for me, right? And you think about the other players that we linked with. Anthony Gordon is the skill set. You think about Anthony Semenyo, it's the skill set. You think about Jamie Gittens, it's the skill set. Mikel knows that for 51 million, you bring in Nico Williams, and in 2 years, you've made him quite a very devastating winger. But also, there is something about options, and we need to talk about options. So this season you've had Gabriel Martinelli inverting on the left hand side and Saka inverting on the right hand side, and teams have come to really deal with that comfortably. All you have to do is to make sure that you stay narrow, so that when Gabriel Martinelli kind of cuts inside into that middle part of the goal, it's covered. When Saka cuts inside, it's covered. So Nico Williams is a natural left footer that will be playing on the left-hand side. I don't know whether you see what Mikel Arteta is saying here. Can we have a player that just doesn't cut inside? It's as simple as that. Think about Liverpool. Think about Newcastle. Newcastle have got Anthony Gordon and they've got Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy is your Bukayo Saka. Okay, it's bad to compare them, but what I mean is that Jacob Murphy is always going to come inside, and that's why this season you've seen him always narrow scoring goals. With Gordon, he's different. He's going to run. He's going to bomb up and down the pitch. And he's one of those players that are always going to give you, width, options, wide options, and the advantage of a wide pitch. So I think Nico Williams is that. And if Arsenal don't get him, don't be shocked, don't be surprised if we get an Anthony Gordon. Don't be shocked, don't be surprised if we get Antoine Semenyo. That would be 200 million on 2 players. Because Nico Williams would cost about 51 million. Number 3 is already a done deal, and that is Martin Zubimendi. And Martin Zubimendi is all about penetration. He's all about penetration. It's all about the pass before the pass. Arsenal have got a very good first phase of build-up play. From Raya to Partey and progressing. From Raya to Rice and progressing. From Raya to Odegaard and progressing. From Raya to Timber and progressing. That phase of play is fantastic. What Arsenal are lacking is the second phase of play. I think I like to think about Arsenal's phases as 3 phases, right? We play in 3 phases. That phase that picks the ball from the goalkeeper and then turns to progress. The second phase where Arsenal are completely in possession and the ball has reached the middle of the park. And the third phase where we have failed a lot in terms of scoring goals. Now, if you think about Martin Zubimendi, he's a defensive midfielder, obviously. So he's not going to create a lot of chances. He's not going to do a lot of penetration passes for your striker. But what Arsenal are lacking is not the chance creation in the last part of the build-up play. It is the penetration in the second phase of play. We don't have players that are willing to make those passes through the lines, to break through the lines, right? So think about Partey. Partey is this player that is like an immovable object. He's so dominant in midfield. But what makes him so safe and what makes him so dominant is that he's going to always play these easy sideways passes. I'm not saying Partey is passive. I'm not saying he's too pragmatic. I'm saying there's a difference between Zubimendi and there's a difference between Thomas Partey and Declan Rice. Mikel doesn't want players to drive. And that is because the more you drive, the more you isolate yourself and the more you risk losing the ball. So he wants a player that can just add to that, that can improve our second level and second phase of play. Someone who is willing to play penetrative passes into the final line. And that final line is going to have Saka. That final line is going to have Martinelli, maybe, or a new left winger, or maybe that final line is going to have a Martin Odegaard or someone like Declan Rice. Can we have someone who is willing to pass that ball into the next phase quicker and more accurately without, fearing, being brave? And, I think Zubimendi is that player. He's got that skill set. He's done it a lot with Real Sociedad, at Real Sociedad, and there is no doubt why Xabi Alonso wanted him. He's also that manager that wants build up in the first phase, quickly done, but also in that second phase, can we quickly do it? If Arsenal can go back to playing quicker, getting the ball from our back and then making it travel quickly, and then in that midfield, make sure the ball gets to Martinelli quicker, the ball gets to Saka quicker, the ball gets to Odegaard and Rice in that, in those pockets a little bit quicker. Arsenal are going to score more goals even without signing a number 10. Joan Garcia is a new goalkeeper that Arsenal want to sign, and Mikel Arteta really likes him. 22 million. I think with Joan Garcia, it's about the psychology. It's about goalkeepers pushing each other. We have seen David Raya this season, world class. But Joan Garcia has also been world class as well at the same time. So I think it's about the psychology. Can I have 2 players pushing each other in goal so that maybe when Raya is looking like he wants to slip up, he looks at his back and there is Joan Garcia. And also I think the time he spent at Manchester City, the relationship between Ederson and Ortega taught him very much when it comes to competitiveness. Now at Arsenal, we had Ramsdale and Raya. I didn't understand that relationship. It looked like Raya was panicking all the time. He was making mistakes when Ramsdale came in. He didn't give us that quality that we expected. But I think Garcia and Raya would give us that competitiveness in goal, and it would be a much better situation. Jorel Hato at left back. I don't know why he wants Jorel Hato. I'm not gonna lie, because he's got Calafiori, he's got Julen Timber, and then he's got Miles Lewis-Kelly. So he's the manager. I don't know why he wants Joel Hartel, but there is a reason maybe. For Dean Houston, Arsenal have always wanted a centre-back, a young centre-back that can come in to compete with Gabriel, come in to compete with Saliba, and I think Dean Houston fits that profile. He's 19, he's going to cost 50 million, and he's ready to be summoned. He's one of those players that can play at left centre-back comfortably and right centre-back comfortably as well. So I'm not surprised that Dean Houston is wanted. Now, out of all of this, I think it's only Alexander Isak that we can't get. The rest, we can actually fulfill the manager's dream of signing his dream players.